Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Riverwalk Talk. My name is Chip Harrington. I started the show a little while ago to kind of profile some different people, issues, and events taking place in the area, just kind of a sort of a community service, I guess you can say. It's nice that in this area when people are in need, a lot of people really step up to help. We have had tremendous success over the years when somebody has a medical issue or an event that takes place in their family. We throw a fundraiser and things, work out quite a bit. One of these incidents took place just about 2 years ago. Family in Ludlow, Joe and Kaylee Codding, their family was growing. Kaylee gave birth to her third child, and shortly thereafter she kind of developed some medical issues. And it was pretty scary, kind of still is. And as we do oftentimes, the community kind of rallied around to support and kind of just offer some support as they were kind of working through everything. She had some procedures done in July, I believe, and then we ended up having an event for them over at Vantage Valley in, I believe it was October or maybe late September. And it was great. It was widely successful. And that was almost 2 years ago. So I figured it'd be a great opportunity to kind of reach out to them and see if they'd be willing to come on and talk about where things are and how things are going. So today, we're very fortunate to have Joe and Kaylee Codding. How are you guys?
Hi.
Hi.
I'm going to come over to you guys. So I know I sent you've seen some of these shows before, and this is kind of where we're going to get 1.1 miles worth of steps in today.
All right.
We're going to start here at the top of the cul-de-sac and then walk over to the clock tower and talk about all things codding.
Oh gosh.
Except for the whole family. We're just going to focus on this part of it.
generation.
Yeah. If we get into Michael and Jay and everybody else, it'll be too long of a
It'll be a long
Here
conversation.
for years.
Yeah, too long. All right, so let's get going. So I kind of did a quick little introduction, kind of gave people, if they are not familiar or were not familiar with, the family events that you guys have kind of been dealing with, kind of gave a quick little update. But how are you feeling right now?
Pretty good, considering everything that I went through and everything the family's gone through. We've all come a really long way.
Yes, it really has been a long way. And how about you, Joe? How are you doing?
We're doing okay, one day at a time. I've had a couple of health scares myself, but we're working our way through it, and we both stayed focused on being the best we can for the kids every day.
Yeah.
Keeps us going.
Yeah, you guys do have a young family. Let's break it down. Who do we got? Who are the kids?
So we have the oldest is
Yeah.
Sean. She's 16. She lives in Georgia, so she's only with us during the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Mina, who's going to be 7 in a couple weeks. And then Cooper just turned 2 this past Christmas.
Super cute kids. At the end of the show, I'm going to maybe post some pictures and so you guys can see the whole Codding family. So the actual medical event that you went through, can you kind of break that down and explain to everybody how the whole thing developed?
From the beginning?
Yeah, let's go well, not from the beginning when you met Joe. I don't want to go back that far. But yeah, kind of the medical side of things.
So a few months after I had my son, I started feeling a little off, I was really tired. I was retaining a lot of water weight. My chest hurt. I just didn't have the energy. I didn't have the stamina. And I just wasn't feeling well. Now, as having 2 kids prior to this, I just kind of chalked it up to, postpartum. Your body's tired. It just went through a traumatic event, bringing a whole human into the world. So I kind of pushed it off for weeks, and weeks turned to months, and then there was just, I believe it was the end of April, it got to the point where I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was a fish out of water, and I had asthma as a kid, so a couple days, it's just asthma. I ended up going to the local urgent care, and they're like, no, you need to go to the ER. You're not doing so hot. So
were you still thinking at that time it was maybe just like a virus or just something kind of just developed?
They did an EKG and they saw something was seriously wrong with my heart. They weren't really able to tell me exactly what was going on. They're just like, you need to get to the emergency room, which I was like, it's nothing.
Yeah.
Ended up going to the emergency room and they did an ultrasound, and immediately there was several nurses, there was 4 doctors, they put me on a CPAP. They're like, your heart is failing.
Oh my gosh.
You're only at 10% heart function. And then our world came crashing down.
Yeah. And how old were you at that time?
Oh God, how old was I?
I don't know.
I don't even know.
Well, how old are you now?
2 years
35.
ago.
That's
I
minus,
was
that's
diagnosed.
minus by 2.
I was 35.
35. So you, a young woman. How, as things progress, but do they know how this developed? Was it through the pregnancy, or was it something that was happening anyways?
It's becoming, unfortunately, more common
Really?
in women. Just the stress of pregnancy, the stress of labor causes dysfunction in the heart. And I originally was diagnosed with peripartum cardiomyopathy
Okay.
or postpartum cardiomyopathy.
Right, that's what I remember hearing before. Yep.
Yeah. After, seeing a doctor in Springfield, I was transferred to Brigham and Women's in Boston, and I actually have a genetic marker that makes me way more susceptible of developing any type of cardiomyopathy than your average person.
Wow. What is, so when you say genetic marker, I mean it's something just kind of in your family that you
Yep.
were born
so
with?
I have a gene mutation that I get from my father's side that eventually I would have ended up getting it anyway.
Okay. Really?
Yeah.
Even without the pregnancies or anything like that, it was just going to develop?
They believe that the pregnancy definitely triggered it, set it off.
wow.
Usually people with a genetic marker, they've seen that it doesn't affect them until later in life,
Yep.
which for my father and myself wasn't really the case.
Interesting. Anybody else in the family have had this or dealt with it that you're aware of?
Down the line, I'm the only one. So
Okay.
my grandfather, my father's father, and my father both had it,
Okay.
and they both passed young. And
Oh.
now it's me, but I survived longer, so I win.
Okay, you do win, and let's continue to win.
Yes.
Let's make that a focus. So, and as we're, just so you guys are, if you're watching, we're walking nice and slow. If you need to stop, take a breath. If there's a couple benches up here, we can sit down, whatever you want to do.
This
So-
is my first mile walk.
Is it really?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's the first all around.
Okay, so that's good. I hope.
Yeah,
I hope this is
hopefully.
going to be a good thing. but if we got to turn around, then just we'll just go real slow.
We have an EMT in the family, so I think we'll be okay.
Yes, right. But we don't want to see any EMTs
No,
today.
we
don't do that.
don't.
No, not at all. So, Joe, from your perspective, you get the call. She's in the ER.
So I
did that
I
work?
was at work and she called me with the same thing. I'm like, oh, it's April. She always gets bad allergies.
Yep.
With the newborn at home. I just thought she was tired.
Yep.
So from the way I remember, she called me and I was on lunch break, and I can hear her struggling to breathe. She sounded like a fish out of water, like
Yeah.
just sucking for air, just. And I'm like, you need to go now.
Oh, she wasn't even at the hospital. She was at home at the time.
She was in her car calling me from the side of the road.
Oh, geez.
And she was going to actually go back to my mom's house to get the baby because she's a mom.
I
She
had
wants
a
to
new.
go
I had
back
a
to the-
4-month-old. That's what moms do.
Yes.
Kids
So-
comes first.
True.
Saving some of the language, I'm like, you need to go to the effing hospital
Yeah.
now, because I had some medical training and I could hear it, like I could just tell.
Right.
So by the time I got there to the hospital, must have been like 5-10 minutes later, I walk in and there's teams of people in the room, and I thought I was walking into, I thought she was going to be dead.
Oh, my goodness.
It was bad.
Yeah, it was real bad. I walked in, she had the CPAP in. And,
So the CPAP was like clipped to my face,
yeah.
and it was forcing air into my lungs at such a velocity that I couldn't speak.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I'm trying to talk to my husband. There's doctors, there's IVs, there's machines,
So they gave her her phone to write to me because she had the CPAP thing, and
Okay.
the first thing she said to me is, "Am I going to die?"
Oh, God.
And I just, I
Yeah.
at that point.
Oh,
'Cause
I
I don't
know.
know what do you say at that point if you see someone you love in the worst shape you've ever seen them.
yeah. What was going through your head? I mean, like you said, you had a 4-month-old at home, right? With 2 other kids that are depending on you, right?
First thought was, it's kind of goes to say just because of the type of personality that I have, it's just, I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
I don't have time for this. I
Yeah.
have kids. I got to get home. What are we going to have for dinner?
Okay.
Does Cooper have enough diapers?
Right.
You
And
know,
I remember that was your biggest words. I have to get to the baby because he needs milk.
I have to
Yeah.
get to the
'Cause
baby.
She only left my mom with like enough formula because she only thought she was going to
Yeah.
go to just the checkup at urgent care, and then this whole thing happened.
It's just,
Right.
the floor kind of falls out from underneath you.
Sure. Okay, so that's the first initial shock. When reality at some point sets in as to what's happening now, what was the course of action medically? Because you say you had to start going to Boston for
So that was
treatments?
kind of tricky how that came up.
Yeah, it's a bit, because I don't want to badmouth anybody. You know, this is supposed to be positive energy.
Yeah.
But I was originally seeing a doctor in Springfield at Bay State, and it just, the relationship just wasn't compatible with this doctor.
Okay.
So I was told, you know, there's really nothing we can do for you. I'm going to send you to Boston. There's a trial. Maybe they can help you. So
geez.
I met with a man named Dr. Giverts, Michael Giverts, and we started doing like a double-blind study for a medication that was shown to help women with postpartum
That was
cardiomyopathy.
something they only use in Europe. That's
Yep.
not approved in
So they're
the
trying
US.
to
Okay.
get it in the U.S. and we did that for a couple weeks, and then just one of a routine checkup on how I was doing on the medication, he pulled my husband aside, pretty much cornered him, and said, "She's getting worse. She's not getting better. You need to make a decision. She needs to stay here, or she's got about 3 months if you continue the route you're going."
Okay. And this is no surgery. This is they're
This
trying to
is
just treat
pre-surgery,
it,
yes.
treat it medication wise, or you know. Okay, so that's not good news.
No.
Clearly. And then eventually a decision was made for surgery.
So they tried to get a little more aggressive with the medication. I was admitted into the hospital.
Okay, and this is still in Boston,
This is
obviously.
in Boston.
Yeah.
I was
Yep.
admitted.
Yeah, so just to go back on the story a little bit, is when the doctor cornered me, he says, "Your wife needs to stay here now or she's going to
Right.
die." So I packed up and I left. I had to leave her to get home to the kids.
Right.
And that was the start of her getting admitted right then and there. Like, we didn't have any bags packed. We weren't
Okay.
ready for any of that. It was just, it was a
We
routine
couldn't-
checkup, we thought.
We couldn't even be together, you know,
Yeah.
have that experience together just because it was so
Yeah.
sudden.
And how far into this? What time of year is it, or what month is this at this point?
So this was, I was admitted in
May sometime.
no,
must have been
June.
May,
It was the beginning of June.
Okay.
I was admitted, and they tried more aggressive medications, different medications, and my body just wasn't responding to anything. So
Yeah, you were just getting worse and worse.
I was
no
just
matter
getting
what they
worse. So, you know, the doctors came in and they're like, presented me with this decision, is we have this machine that can help you out because I'm not really able to, I don't know how to explain.
Yeah, your body just wasn't processing, right? It
It
wasn't just
wasn't
responding
processing,
to it.
Compensating anymore?
and a transplant wasn't an option at the time. So,
Okay.
you know, they're like, we have this machine. This is what we want to, you know, do for you. Is you got to think about it. So it was one of those things where you have to sit down in a hospital room 2 hours away from your family with your husband on FaceTime,
Yep.
and a doctor says, you know, your wife needs a heart transplant.
Oof.
It's earth shattering.
Yeah.
It's earth shattering.
Yeah, I was at work when I got the call, and I'm FaceTiming with my wife and this other doctor, and breaks the news that she needs a heart transplant.
Yeah. The fact.
There's no words that can describe like how quickly like your world just
Yeah.
totally blows up.
Yeah.
And the hard thing is I couldn't be there.
That's
I
what
couldn't cover, and I'm watching on a video
Yeah.
a doctor hugging my wife as like comforting.
Right.
It's like,
I was just going to say the fact that you still, you know, maybe we'll talk about that later, but you know, you still had an obligation to be at work. It was kind of
Yep.
hard for you to get away.
Life goes on.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. So there's a machine,
Yes.
LVAD, I think it's called.
An LVAD.
LVAD, yep.
It stands for Left Ventricular Assist Device.
Okay.
And basically what it is, it's like a little pump. Looks like it belongs under your kitchen sink. It's a little pump that goes into the bottom of the left side of your heart, and it acts as a chamber. It pumps blood through your heart for you because obviously the disease makes your heart unable to
Yeah.
pump the blood around your body.
Okay.
Powered by batteries.
Yes. Well, when we were talking about, I texted Joe earlier, I'm like, hey, I'd love to have you on the show. He's like, well, if it's raining out, she's going to get electrocuted, so we can't do that. I'm like, well, Wednesday looks like the only day it's not going to rain, so let's
Right.
give it a shot. I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah.
So you're learning all about this machine.
Yep.
How quickly do you go into surgery to get this done?
When they presented me with the choice of an LVAD, they're like, we want to do this now. And I said, okay, when is now? And they said tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
But we had to sit down with a team of,
Yep.
we had to go through all these interview processes, financial,
Yep.
Yeah.
just all these different things, what our support system is at home, to
Yeah.
see if you're even a good candidate to have it.
Right.
So she did that process, and then
But
literally
they expedited that whole thing.
expedited the whole thing, and then the next day, again, I'm at work, and Kid
Oh
is
my
like,
God.
I'm going in for surgery.
They're wheeling me in.
Oh my God, the fact that you're still at work doing that. So you go in, this is, you told me that July 6th?
July 6th was my actual operation.
Okay. How long does that, does a procedure like that take?
I don't know.
Yeah, you were sleeping.
I don't
Yeah.
remember much.
How long does that take?
I think they said it was about 8 hours, maybe more.
Okay.
Because I know she went in first thing in the morning. My last contact
Well,
with her was probably before I got into work.
I was scheduled to go in for
So you're
surgery.
at work this day?
Yes.
So she was scheduled to go in later.
Yes.
Okay.
So I was gonna, because I had no time left to take off. So I was gonna work my shift, hop in the car, get to Boston, and be there.
Okay.
So then I get a call from her. She's like, they're taking me in now. Obviously, it's super urgent.
Okay.
So they got her in then.
Like, how do you say your goodbyes, you know?
I know.
And it was like they were literally wheeling her in. It was so abrupt that we just did a quick "I love you" and then
Right.
I'll see you
And
on
then
the
he
other
had
side type of
to
thing.
sit there
Yeah.
and wait.
Oh my goodness. Was there a chance, you guys can walk, are they waiting for us? You guys can walk by. Don't worry about it. Yeah, don't worry about it. I'm just gonna get the back of your heads on our show. So were you, so you're in surgery, then you finally get up there at that point.
So I left and I'm on the turnpike and I get a call from the operating room from the surgeon, and I can hear all the beeping and all
Yep.
the pumps and machines. And the surgeon goes, yeah, you know, I'm the guy doing the surgery on your wife.
Ito, Dr. Ito.
Ito. He was awesome. He was awesome.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm sewing her up right now. So it's like I'm thinking about this guy on the phone while I'm flying
He's
down.
got like the phone in his like, yeah, I'm
everything's
fixing it up.
fine.
It's 3 o'clock in the middle of the week. I'm flying on the pike as fast as I can through Boston traffic, and it's literally like a dream.
Yeah.
Which, come
Or a
to find
nightmare.
out, later on, we didn't find out till a few months later that during that drive of him coming to Boston while I'm in surgery, he had a heart attack in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, oh my goodness. When it rains, it pours, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
talk about pouring. That's like a tsunami. All right, we love Joe, but let's talk about you. Let's still focus on you right now. So the surgery's done.
Well, so when I got there, they said you can't come in yet because something happened.
Okay.
So they gave me an exact time to be here at 3:45, and I got there. I'm like, okay, it's 3:45. Let me in. They're like, no, you can't come in.
Okay.
And I had to sit like 2 or 3 more hours. But
What-
no one talked to me. No one said anything.
What was their reason? What did they didn't give you?
They never actually said why.
Was it just protocol because of just
I
germs?
know,
You know,
no idea.
need to scrub you
We
down.
still don't know.
Okay.
They did. Someone at one point said that Kaylee gave them a really close call.
Okay.
No one ever elaborated on that, and I didn't really care to ask at the time,
Yeah.
to be honest with you.
A little more stress, a little more salt in that wound for you right there. Okay, so you get through the surgery. Do you talk? Obviously, Cooper's just a little baby, but do you talk to your daughters about what's going on?
I personally didn't, just for, for a little while. My oldest, I don't think knew anything until much later, like after,
Okay. Yep.
kind of coming to and stuff like that. And then Mina, we didn't really go into too many details because she's so young.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and wouldn't have understood.
She gets scared even on the FaceTime, seeing all the machines.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
Yeah.
Wait, we're coming with the benches. Do you want to chill out
Yeah,
for a little
could
bit?
we?
Yeah, let's do it. Gotta do that. Last thing I want to do is be responsible for, like, say, having you get sick or something like that.
No.
It's beautiful. Right?
Do you want to sit down, stand? What do you want to do?
No, I'll sit.
Okay,
please.
let's sit around her, Joe, and switch over here. So you're at that point. You're gonna be in the hospital for a little while. How long were you up in Boston for?
28 days.
Okay.
It's the longest 28 days of my life.
Yeah, I bet it is. So 28. I'm just looking at the microphone. Can we just move that over there so we make sure we get Joe's sound
sure.
over there? We're doing that. These are all little technical things. You're seeing the behind the
Technical
scenes of
difficulties.
how this
Please
show really
hold.
works. Perfect. So you 28 days in Boston. I mean, I would imagine that your chest was opened up, so there's a lot of pain involved in the recovery as well too.
Very much so.
When were you able to get up and start moving around again?
I can't tell you, honestly,
Yeah.
because everything just kind of blurs together. You're on a lot of medication, and things happen very quickly, and you don't know what day it is, you don't know what
Yeah.
week it is. So I couldn't honestly tell you, it took a week or it took this many days. I know that they were very adamant about me being able to get up, like be able to stand.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time that I physically was able to stand up, it was like learning how to walk all over
Yeah.
again. You know?
Yeah. Okay, let's move forward a little bit. So you come back, you're back in town. Now you have a machine or something that you're carrying around. And I'm sure the reality at some point kicks in and be like, this is my life now. This is how I'm going to be living for the rest of my life. And then you seem like a pretty tough woman, but does the reality at some point just kind of kick you in the teeth and you're kind of just accept it and move on? Or was there like a denial period?
In the hospital, I'll start there. When you're in the hospital and you have all these doctors in your face and you have these huge life-changing decisions that you have to make, you disassociate. You don't process what's happening. You're just like, okay, I want to survive. Let's do it. Let's go. When do we start? And then when you get home, it's very difficult to have to face, certain things that you just can't do anymore. I can't submerge my abdomen in water.
Okay.
So I can never go swimming. I can't teach my kids how to swim. I can't take a bubble bath.
Yeah.
All of these little minuscule things that you don't really think about aren't an option for me anymore. And, when the physical stuff's over, it's the emotional stuff that you really struggle with.
Yeah. And you still have a little baby at home.
Yep.
Cooper is now
He's
6
2.
months old. Well, now he's 2, but at the time he's 6 months
Yeah.
old
Oh, yeah.
when you're going through this part of it.
And, right when I first got home, I couldn't even pick him up.
Yeah.
They're like, you can't lift 10 pounds. My son at the time was 24
No, I
pounds.
remember.
Well, he's a Codding. So,
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Yeah.
So, I have this newborn baby and I can't lift him.
Yeah.
I can't change him.
Yeah,
I
she couldn't
can't.
get him on the crib because of
Right.
it's all being sewn together.
And that
Yeah.
just goes against your instincts.
Right.
Like, as a mom. as
Of
a woman.
course. Yeah. 100%. So how long was the healing? Are you still healing? I mean, it's been 2 years, but are you still in a healing phase?
Physically,
Yeah.
I'm pretty much done healing. My sternum, that takes the longest to heal. They say it takes about 12 weeks for your sternum to kind of knit back together. And now it's more of just getting my stamina back. Being able to walk,
Yeah.
being able to, run around and play with the kids. But there's a lot of fear involved in that. The mentality of it. It's like, oh, I have this. Oh, I got to be careful. You don't want to push yourself because
Right.
you don't want to end up back in that situation again. So it's a mental battle.
Yeah.
It's the physical is good. I'm healed. I'm good. It's the mental. It's the emotional.
So you're on a transplant list. At least last time I talked to you guys, you were kind of on a transplant list. Is that still an option, or where do you stand there?
So there's been some kind of developments.
There's
in
been
that.
some recent developments, yeah.
Okay.
We as a family decided to wait for transplant, for various reasons that we can get into later. But I'm healthy enough to be on the LVAD. My body is working with it. I'm good. So why push it? Why take a chance?
Right.
I'm doing good with what I have now. There's medical developments that are happening every day. I just got a phone call from the geneticist that worked with us at the Brigham, and there's a new drug that's out there that can change the proteins in the gene and could potentially, heal the damage that's been done.
Really?
So, I can't really say too much about it because I don't know details medically.
Yep.
But there's things on the horizon that
Yeah.
could change everything.
So, I mean, and if you did go through the heart transplant, right, there's a chance that your body could reject it.
Because of my gene and because of the fact that I have such high antibody levels, your chance of rejecting a heart is probably about 60-40. Did I do that math right?
I don't
60-30.
remember. Yeah.
I'm bad at math.
60-40, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I,
My chances of rejecting a heart are like up in the 80s.
Yeah, they said 9 out of 10 perfect matches she'd probably reject on the table.
Yeah.
On the table.
Okay.
And if you're getting a new heart put in your body, if your body doesn't take that heart, you're dead on the table.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no second chance after that.
So I think you're making a pretty smart decision by just kind
You
of
can't
like,
attach the machine to the
Right.
new
Right.
heart. It's like
and just like, okay, well that didn't work. Let's just, you
Well,
know.
most transplanted hearts last about 12 to 15 years.
Wow.
So in a perfect world, I survive transplant and I
Yeah.
don't reject it. 40 something is not long enough
Yeah.
for me.
Right. So, and like you said, things are good. You're as healthy as,
As I can be.
You're feeling, you're raising your family, which is
Yep.
the most important thing.
Yep.
Taking care of Joe, because that's a lot of work in itself.
That's a tough thing.
That is a tough thing. So it's almost 2 years later. Now it is, but we kind of the community. I was saying at the top of the show, the community came together. There was a quickly kind of a GoFundMe account
Yeah.
that was put together because there's forget about the mental and the physical. There's a
bills.
financial component to all this stuff as well too.
The bills.
Yeah.
I was life flighted
Yeah.
from Bay State to Boston, and with insurance, that was $60,000.
Oh my God,
For a 30-minute helicopter ride.
that's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane. Forget about everything else, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
this
the
is
financial load.
this is
comes
$1
on
million.
top of
This is $1 million thing, for sure. Either $1 million lady right now.
Easily.
So, like you said, it was a GoFundMe that was put together, and then shortly after that, I remember you guys were doing your thing, but there was kind of the dream team of fundraising people got together.
I'm not a people person, but I've never been so humbled by a group of complete strangers coming together and literally saving the day. Like, that's what superheroes are made of, is
Yeah.
you guys and the group that did that entire fundraiser. Everyone
Yeah.
at Vanish Valley, it still brings a tear to my eyes.
That was a pretty wild day. So
That was awesome.
if you weren't involved or didn't know about it at the time, we called it Coddtoberfest.
Yes.
Because and I think Amanda, your sister-in-law, came up with that name.
She did.
We were all sitting up at your brother's house, Mike's house, and she threw Coddtoberfest. And of course, Mike was like, "That's crazy," and we were all like,
She's the brains.
"That's a great name. That's
She's
perfect."
the brain.
And then Mike was like, "All right, we'll do that." So we put this Coddtoberfest because it was around the time of Oktoberfest going on over at Vanish Valley, and like you said, Pat Gregoire, Kelly Lavoie,
Oh my gosh, Kelly.
Kathy Hastings,
you, of
myself,
course, my brother.
Mike Codding, Amanda. It was kind of the core.
I feel so bad if we forget anybody, but
There's so many people
it-
we're
Yeah, we had
Nice.
people kind of coming in and out, but like you said, it was the dream team, and it was really Kelly Lavoie and
She still-
Pat
She still
Gregoire.
comes
She
to see
still
us.
comes
Yeah,
to see us.
yeah. Oh, people ask me all the time, like, how are those guys doing? That's why I was just like,
And
I don't know.
I get asked a lot. I'll be stopped in Big Y. And, can you do an update? Can you do an update? And I
Yeah.
kind of do a little thing on
Yeah.
Facebook, but we've kind of just been trying to focus on
focus on the
our
family more.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
living our lives and not
when-
really trying to be behind the camera too much
Right.
as
Yeah.
much as in the moment. of-
Right.
Right.
When you face something like this, whether you're experiencing it or whether you're a caregiver, you don't realize how much those little moments
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah.
You don't want to. You want people to know, and you want to let everyone know how everyone's doing. But you also just want to watch your kids play.
Mm-hmm.
You want to stare at your husband creepily from across the room.
Yeah.
It's creepy.
You're not the only one. Not the only one that does that. We all do that. Yeah, I can totally understand it and completely respect that. From your perspective, and I think people get that.
Yeah.
But at
Oh,
the
yeah,
same
for
time,
sure.
people are curious to see
absolutely.
what's going
Especially
on.
where the community came together. So everyone's invested in you more or less.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know this town's full of great people. I've been involved with everything in my whole life, from football and sports and everything. But the way that everyone turned out, it blew my mind. It
It's
still
so
does.
humbling. It's
Yeah.
Like
so,
Ludlow's full of great people, but they really came to bat. And even other people outside of Ludlow, we had
and
people
these are
from
strangers.
other
People we
complete
don't even
strangers.
know.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, as somebody who went out and helped do the fundraising, when you say, hey, there's a mom just gave birth and she needs a heart transplant, it was like, how much do you want?
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of an easy ask. It wasn't like
And not that, we went out looking for money.
We
Of
fought
course.
it.
We fought it. We told Mike.
I remember, yeah.
We got in an argument with Mike at Cape Cod at the beach because we had just gotten out of the hospital. It was the first thing she wanted to do. And we're like, Mike, we're just trying to digest this.
Yeah.
He's like, no, we got to act now. That's the way Mike is, love him to
Yep.
death. But we were like, no, we don't want this. We don't want the attention. And then we're like,
We don't
fine.
like handouts.
And then you guys completely took it over.
Yeah.
Because we did not have the time, effort, energy to do any of it. So we
Didn't even, at the time,
We just
didn't
showed
even
up.
think about
Yeah.
the financial implications of
Yeah.
just one person working.
Right.
Not even a bill standpoint. It's more of, okay, now this is a permanent disability.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can't work.
Yeah.
You know.
Right, exactly. And was our theory all along. We're like, okay, we're just going to do this. You guys aren't going to be involved, and you probably don't want us
Which
to do
is
it.
probably better for
We're doing
everybody.
it exactly, and it came
Yeah.
together. And I think we had 300 or 400 people at the
I have no
Vantage
They
idea.
ran out of
They kept
parking.
on coming.
Yeah.
And
They
coming,
ran
and
out
it
of
was
parking. They ran
unbelievable.
out of beer. They ran out of a certain
Tickets.
tickets.
Yeah, we
It
had.
was just
It
unbelievable.
was great. It was really a wonderful day. But again, it was for such an amazing, worthy cause for sure. And
And we wouldn't have
survived.
we wouldn't have made it here without it. Absolutely. Every trip to Boston,
yeah,
$100 in the gas tank, then it's parking, then it's paying for food, and then
There's a very, very
Then
good
when she
chance
gets-
we would have lost the house.
when
if
she
we
gets
didn't
admitted,
have
it's
that.
overnight parking
Yep.
and back and forth and back and forth. Yeah.
Medications.
Medications
Yep.
are endless.
yeah. Oh yeah. But I mean, that GoFundMe is still active, right? I mean, 'cause these bills, unfortunately, I wish they would all go away.
keep coming.
They keep on coming in. So there is a GoFundMe, and I'm going to link it to the bottom of this video here, so you can check it out. And if you feel so inclined, reach out and make a donation, because this isn't going to go away. Unfortunately, I wish it would, but it's.
Well, hopefully it will.
Hopefully.
Well, that's true.
Hopefully,
I guess
in
I
the
should.
long run.
Yeah. So you're telling me that there's a chance that there's some new procedure, medication out there where your heart can just kind of rebuild itself.
It's a medication they're using to try and stop cardiomyopathy from happening with people who have the K210 gene.
It's like only targeting the gene she has.
That's amazing.
So it's
Yeah.
pretty.
Which we look at as if it's obviously it was passed from grandpa to
to
father
my dad,
to her,
to me,
and it's like, okay,
if
the
we
kids
get-
have a higher risk of having it.
exactly.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
if there's something that I can do for them, or if there's something that I can do for anybody, so they don't have to experience this, then I will absolutely do it.
Yeah.
There's already been a few things that she's done, kind of volunteered for, that they said will probably be in medical books
Oh, really?
for trying. Because
Okay.
not many young patients have
Yeah.
LVADs. It's usually elderly.
Is it? Okay.
So they're learning a lot on her because she's young, small, petite,
Right.
mother. Usually
Right.
it's a lot of elderly people that get them towards the end of their run here.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're trying to figure out how to make it where active young people can live with these
Yep.
machines and live
Yep.
lives.
Yeah.
Jeepers. So we talked a little bit about Joe's health a little while ago. How are you feeling? How's
I'm
your-
okay.
Yeah.
It's
Stressful.
stressful.
Yeah.
It's,
Seriously, do you think it was triggered by stress? You look like a heart?
stress, not eating well.
Yeah.
And just it was. I've been through a lot in my life.
Mm.
And I would not wish that upon anybody,
Yeah.
to have to go through those things of saying goodbye to your wife via a Zoom call
That's
Not
great.
and
knowing
then
if that's
leaving.
the last time.
I wasn't capable of taking care of my son at 4 months old. I had to give him to my mother-in-law for
Right.
that first month. And my daughter stayed with me, but she was ping-ponging back and forth between my mom and
She
school,
doesn't
and
understand what's going on.
She doesn't understand what's going on. She's crying at home, and it's just it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot. And then obviously, okay, I'm driving on the pike. I'll stop at McDonald's and eat something like
Yeah.
that. And then
Right.
After not sleeping for
after
2 days.
I wasn't sleeping.
And working, 40-hour weeks and taking care of a child.
And you're just you're drinking an energy drink just to get there,
Mm.
and you're worried about her and everyone else. You forget about yourself.
Sure,
And
yeah.
I actually got pulled aside by someone. It was a caregiver, and he's like, you're going to get burnt out. You're going to
Yeah.
have caregiver burnout. It's like, it's going to happen. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm a strong guy. But I was
Yeah.
struggling.
Yeah.
And I've lost some weight since then. I dropped 50 pounds
Yep.
doing my bicycles and my walk. I
Mhm.
got ways to go, but I'm lucky to be here.
Yeah.
Like
I'm lucky to have him.
I was on the pike and losing my vision, and come to find out that's when I was having
my
a
goodness.
silent
And
heart
this was
attack.
months later. He didn't find out till months
Yeah.
later.
Months later,
Yeah.
yeah. Until
Like, oh, you had a heart attack.
yeah.
Wow. Man, well, if there's ever stress-induced, that's proof right there
Yeah.
that I can do it.
We
for
can
sure.
we can walk again if you guys want to start walking.
Do you want to
again.
go? Well, I mean, we're at 30 minutes, and these shows are least about 30 minutes. But
Ooh.
Oh, he's cutting us off.
no, I'm not cutting you off. But I mean, I don't. And we're not even halfway there, so I don't want to stress you out. But just to kind of wrap things up, as far as the family structure, you guys just kind of found your new normal right now. This is kind of what you're doing. Everybody's good.
Pretty much. I when you're faced with something like this, you have to have a sense of humor, and you
Yep.
have to joke about it every day. So, mommy robot, I plug myself in at night, and I get my battery, my jetpack in the morning. I named it Johnny 5.
Okay.
So, hopefully we'll have a better relationship as friends.
Your
now
LVAD
that-
is Johnny 5.
If you want
Okay.
to show him the batteries and stuff. I
Oh,
don't know
I
if you've
can.
ever seen it.
Yeah,
if
let's.
he wants to.
Sure.
So,
Inside scoop. Get to see what it looks like.
inside scoop.
And you kind
My
of carry a
fanny
backpack
pack.
with
This
you.
is my jetpack. This is my jetpack. This is how I.
You're like Iron Man, Iron Woman, right? Yeah.
So this is a remote.
Okay.
It does not turn the TV on. I've tried.
Oh.
This just monitors my numbers, so like my heart rate, my flow, things of that nature.
She has to monitor those and record those.
Okay.
And then this powers the left side of my heart. These are my batteries. I'm
That
gonna
is
get yelled
amazing.
at for holding them by the wires, but
Wow.
this is what keeps me alive on
And they're
the
heavy.
daily. They're heavy. Would
They
you like
are.
to hold them?
I'm holding the camera. I can't.
It's a newborn baby.
Right.
So the batteries go into the remote. The remote goes into this wire, which goes into my stomach,
Okay.
and that travels up under my rib cage and into the bottom of my heart.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you can't be submerged, but
Nope.
so you just kind of shower, a sponge bath, kind of clean up that way.
So I can shower. I have no issues. Why do I smell?
No, I know. After I said that, I'm like, Chip, that was such an inappropriate question. That was terrible.
No.
But I'm so curious.
So there's a sterile dressing, obviously, because it's a hole. There's a hole in my belly. There's a sterile dressing, and then over this sterile dressing, there's a whole waterproof Tegaderm. So
Okay.
I just slap
Oh,
that
okay.
on there, and then I can shower like a
Oh,
normal
okay.
person.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
she has this big bag that holds the whole unit.
Yep,
that-
I have
that
a waterproof
can't get
bag. I
wet.
hang it in my shower.
Yeah. Jeep.
And like she always says, we always take for granted that we can just hop in the shower.
Yeah.
It takes a half an hour for her to prepare,
Yep.
especially at the beginning. She's duct taping things down, and
Yep.
it's just, there's a
Right.
lot.
Yeah.
Now it's it's more normal now. I'm able to get into the shower within 10 minutes as opposed to
Yeah.
30 minutes. But
Yeah.
you people say, oh, I'm going to take a quick shower. I'm going to hop in this, and I can't
Yeah.
hop.
Yeah. No more hopping for you. But I mean, the kids are just so resilient, right? Like Cooper and your daughter. What's your daughter's name again?
Mina.
Mina. I always forget that.
And Sean, the oldest.
And Sean, for
Yep.
sure. They I mean, like you said, the youngest ones are just so young that this is just how
So Cooper will
mom
never
is.
know me
Yeah.
as any
Right.
any other way.
Right.
And
He doesn't even know her heartbeat
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
He's.
because all you hear is the
It
machine
sounds like a
gun.
fax machine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like I don't have an
24/7.
ECG pulse,
Okay.
so I can't have my pulse taken normally.
Yeah.
And I don't have a standard hump. I
At
don't
night,
have a heartbeat.
when the room is quiet, you
can
can
hear
hear it.
Okay. I know I'm a first responder, and I know this question actually came up a little while ago in our CPR class. We're like, what if somebody has an LVAD? Like, if we respond, somebody has an LVAD. How are we?
Unfortunately, there's a lot of response people who don't know how to handle LVAD situations. I wish there was more training because that person's life is in your hands.
Yeah.
But it's so new, and it's still such a rare phenomenon, to run. I've met EMT people that have never dealt with someone who has an LVAD, so it's not common enough, I think, for people to get the proper training that they need. But I've been some EMTs first timers.
But I
Yeah.
mean, with that said, Ludlow Fire Department, not to
Oh,
name
they're
drop,
great.
they do an amazing job.
They
with
do.
They
it.
really do.
They've been to the house several times. And
Yep.
They
The
do an
police,
amazing
even
job.
the
Yep.
police officers when they
They
come.
do an amazing
Yeah, they're
job.
okay.
No, they did a great
I'm
job.
just kidding.
Kaylee had a big scare, and the police
Yeah.
officer was giving badges to the kids
Yeah.
to calm them down because I wasn't there, and everyone in town's just done an amazing job.
Yeah,
for
I
us.
can attest. Our fire department and police department, excellent guys,
Top
girls,
notch.
women.
Yep.
They're definitely the best for sure. So, well, thank you so much for the update. That was very, very good.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and let's do it again. You know, we'll kind of see if something progresses. Hopefully, something progresses in a good, positive way.
Yeah, we're waiting to hear about this trial medication. There's a lot of stuff they're doing with the FDA and all that to try to figure that out.
Like it's so new, the FDA has to approve it still.
Yeah. Well, in America, it's, you know, our process here. My wife works in cardiac, and she does TAVR. It's a, you know, heart valve replacement thing. And it's been around for like, you know, 40, 50 years in Germany, but in America it's still experimental. It's like, oh my God, it's been 50 years, you know, it works, you know, so. But
we'll get there.
They get there eventually. So, but again, yeah, thanks for the update. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Like I said, in the link below, check out, I'm gonna, if I can, hopefully I can figure out the GoFundMe link that would support the Codding family. Because even though, you know, they're through probably hopefully the hardest part,
Hopefully.
and going towards a much better area, there's still a lot of bills and medical expenses that come up. So please, if you can, please make a donation. And that's going to do it. We'll see you guys soon. Bye.